let's see, it's 12:03, so I want to get started. I expect we'll get a few more people to show up and trickle in, but just to kind of give you, oh, here's one, just to give you a sort of a plan of attack here. What I want to do is just kind of take 2 minutes. I'll just tell you a little bit about myself, just so you know what you're dealing with. And then I will tell you a little bit about the BIT department, which is the department in the Pamplin College of Business in which I work. And then basically I want to open it up to questions to you guys. So whatever however I can help, whatever types of questions you have. So please let me know. Just to make sure before I keep talking too long, you can hear me okay? A thumbs up? Yeah? Okay. Okay, great. And if you have questions, feel free. You can, I think you can unmute yourselves. Can you unmute yourselves with that?
Yes, we can.
Great. I didn't know if you had that authority or not. If you like, feel free to ask a question. You can unmute yourself, ask a question, or if you prefer, you can also put it in the chat. Whatever is more convenient for you is fine with me. So, okay. So my name's Dan. I work in the BIT department. I'm what am I called? I'm sorry, my title escapes me. Assistant professor of practice. That's what it's called. So I teach classes. I teach some of the introductory statistics. I teach the statistics course that everyone in the Pamplin College of Business has to take. I teach a class in linear programming, which I understand you guys are interested in technology, computers. I'm not sure of your math backgrounds, if you've taken anything like linear programming, things like this, but these are kind of general requirement classes for all people in the Pamplin College of Business. We also get engineering students and people from across the university, but these are generally intended for folks in the business school. And then I'm also teaching a more advanced course in kind of linear programming and business practices this coming year. So, I've been at BIT for 1 year, so I'm relatively new to this. Before that, I taught in the Honors College at Virginia Tech. I've taught in the economics department here, and I also taught at the business school at University of Southern California for a year. So. Another, I don't know, maybe interesting thing that you might have questions about is I live in the dorm, actually. So my wife has a position where she's what's called a faculty principal, and she is in charge of academic enrichment of the dorm, kind of the community. So I don't know if any of you you're high school students and you're not you haven't applied yet or anything like that, right? Okay, sorry, wrong group. So anyways, if you do have questions about living in a dorm on campus at a university, let me know. It's weird, but fun. So, I'd be happy to answer any questions like that. Okay, that's me. I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about the BIT department. Give me a sec so I don't want to go into too much detail on this because I just wanted to give you kind of a quick overview, but let's see, if I share my screen. Okay, you should be looking at, so you can see now the webpage from BIT, is that right? If I see one of you nod, okay, great, thanks. Okay, so this is just a little bit of information. I just wanted to kind of basically point this out, let you know it's out there, where it is. You can find more information. I just wanted to kind of show you, so the BIT department is bit.vt.edu. This is Andrew. He was one of our fantastic students who just graduated. But if you go over here and click on, menu, and then do About Us, it has just a nice little bit of information. So, what the BIT department is about. We educate students in data analysis, IT, and cybersecurity. And then we also have an area that works in operations and supply chain management. Our graduates help to solve managerial and social problems by using data and technology for enhanced decision making. So really what the BIT department is about, in some sense, it's using technology to solve business and societal problems. Okay, that's how I would describe it. Within BIT, there's a couple different tracks which I can talk about, but that's the general idea. Is it's using technology, using computers, using programming to help business managers and let's say government or regulatory agencies make better decisions. That's really what this is all about. If you scroll down a little bit here, just to give you kind of a little bit of a sense about the department, it is the second largest major on campus behind, I can't remember, one of the engineering programs, maybe, I don't even remember, I won't say. But it is the largest major in the Pamplin College of Business. And like I said, it's the second largest on campus by like 4 students or something. It's really close. It's the most recruited major on campus, so more interviews and more interviews per student than any other major. And then just a little bit of, I'm sorry, I have to say this stuff, just a little bit about kind of, what students do after they graduate. So first of all, they get jobs. Second, they get good jobs. And then third, I'll tell you a little bit about where they end up, what types of companies and things like that. But we have a 95% placement rate, meaning 95% of the students have jobs within, I think, 6 months of graduating. Average starting salary of $68,000. And if you look at kind of the top 25% of students in BIT, then the average starting salary for them is $78,000. And that's without any sort of signing bonus. So that's just base salary. So it's a nationally ranked program. We have fantastic faculty. It's really a fun place. There's a lot of really great classes, a lot of great faculty. I love my colleagues. They're really fun to work with. They come from a very diverse background. It's great. Okay, so that's a little bit about BIT. Let me do, sorry, this one real quick. If I go to, I think, academics. Yeah, this was, I think, what I wanted. Okay, perfect. So I just wanted to show you this. This is, again, just kind of, if you navigate around the BIT website, you get this nice, you can get to this nice section, careers. So this is, I think it's kind of useful. The reason I wanted to show you this, I guess, is I think it's useful to sort of see, what does this degree get you, right? So in some sense, yeah, you get to take a lot of fun classes, and I think being in the business school is great. There's a lot of advantages to that. But then sort of, where do these folks end up is, I think, a useful thing to know. So I guess the short, kind of the upshot here is, as I said, the job market is really, really good for BIT graduates. We place people at fantastic companies, at government agencies, really just kind of in a lot of different types of places. So, of course, as you might imagine, a lot of the kind of big 4 professional services and accounting firms, right? So PricewaterhouseCoopers, Booz Allen, KPMG, Ernst & Young, as you might expect. Also a lot of tech firms. So, IBM, Amazon. We have people working in kind of more finance places like Capital One. Just there's a lot of different companies. So people end up working at a lot of different types of companies, which I see as a really good thing. It's kind of, I don't want to say that it opens the door, but it certainly puts you in a position to be able to kind of converse and, have job interviews with a lot of different types of places. So if you look over here on the right, there are some different kind of sample job titles. And what's really nice is if you just kind of click on one of those, it'll take you in a little bit and tell you about that type of position. Okay, so kind of what types of duties you would have, possibly what types of companies hire these people. You can click on a few different, there's cybersecurity analysis, there's data analysis, scientist. Yeah, so there's a lot there. So I'll kind of let you guys go through that. Like I said, I wanted to just kind of point this out so you can see, you can do a little bit more research if you're interested. I guess the other thing that I just wanted to tell you about our department was about the 3 tracks that we have. So let me just kind of go back. Here we are. I apologize. Okay. Curriculum by option. Maybe if I do that. There. Okay. This is fine. It'll work for what I wanted to say. So within BIT, we have 3 different tracks, we call them. So these are kind of the 3 different areas in which people study. And students don't generally have to decide this or make a decision on which track they want to be until roughly their junior year. So they can, when you come in, you can, if you start in a business undecided, I think is what they call it, you get kind of a lot of opportunity to take different types of classes from different departments. And then you can decide, well, I'm interested in BIT. And then in a little bit, you can decide which area of BIT are you interested in, right? So it's kind of nice, I think, that you don't have to make this decision right away, right as you come in. But instead, you have a little bit of time. You can see what kind of classes interest you, what types of stuff you like doing, and then make the decision. So I don't want to spend so much time talking about the individual classes here. What I wanted to do was just kind of talk about the different tracks. So option 1, option 2, and option 3 are the 3 different tracks that we have in the BIT department. We have decision support systems. Okay, so decision support systems, DSS. This is kind of, I would say, the most technically demanding track within BIT. So the most programming, kind of the most setting up computer systems, things like this. So the idea here, decision support systems, is what you learn is how to create computer systems to help managers make better decisions, right? So like I said, it's a lot of programming. It's the most technically, let's say, it has the highest technical requirements of our 3 tracks. On the other extreme is what we call option 2, the operations and supply chain management. So this is all kind of, I think of this as being really very much about logistics. This is supply chain management. You've got some product in factories, or you've got a couple of different factories, and it needs to produce product, and you've got a bunch of different markets in which you sell your product. You have a couple different shipping options or kind of possibilities, right? And the idea here is how do you determine where your product should be produced, and how should it be shipped in order to meet different market demands and things like that, right? So this is very much kind of logistical type stuff. This is supply chain management things. This is, I would say, kind of the lowest of our 3 options. It's the lowest in terms of technical requirements, in terms of coding and things like that. In between is our new option. So we just started this. It's now 1 year old, the cybersecurity management and analytics. And when I'm sorry, I say in between, what I mean is kind of in between decision support systems and operation supply chain management in terms of kind of the level of technical requirements, programming requirements, things like that. So cybersecurity management and analytics is, like I said, it's our newest track. It's very much in demand right now, as you might imagine. There's a lot of companies, especially Northern Virginia, who are interested in students from the cybersecurity track. So it's, a lot of what this is, it's about kind of setting up security systems, protecting databases. There's some interesting kind of ethical issues and that go on, kind of how do you protect this? Who do you need to protect from? Who should be in charge of management of these types of systems? Another nice thing about the cybersecurity track is there's a requirement there that students do a 1 year, I can't remember what the name is, but it's essentially a 1 year internship. And so this is kind of, I think, I'll say all of our tracks are very practical, but one of the nice things about the cybersecurity track is everyone has to do this internship. It's part of the degree, right? And again, I just think that really helps with kind of practicality. I hope you see that as a good thing, that it's kind of here's a chance to go work and put what you've learned to practice. Of course, you can do that and many of our students do internships. I can say more about that, but I just think it's nice that that's actually part of the curriculum here. Okay, that was a lot. I apologize for kind of talking at you I hope I didn't do too long. Was it no more than? Okay, well, it was about 12 minutes. I apologize. Anyways, that's kind of the spiel that I wanted to give. What kind of questions do you guys have? Let me stop this share. Yeah. What kind of questions do you have? How can I help? So I have one in the chat. Let's see, is BIT similar to industrial engineering, since BIT has a lot to do with supply chains? If so, what makes the 2 fields different? Yeah, that's great. That's a helpful question. Thank you. I don't want to say, it's hard for me to say whether yes or no, it's similar or not to industrial engineering. But what I will say is kind of 2 things. One, sorry, not 2. I have quite a few different angles that I want to come at this. Sorry. One is, not all of BIT is about supply chains. Okay, so as I was saying, kind of one of our tracks, the operations and supply chain management, yes, that's very much about kind of supply chains, logistics, things like that. And there is overlap there with industrial engineering. So certainly. The difference, I would say, there's kind of 2 parts to the difference. One is that in BIT, we're a lot more focused on decision making. Okay, so kind of how do we set up these problems? How do we model these problems so that we can figure out what's kind of the best way to do it? So there's an optimization there that goes into it, and we're trying to think about what are the best systems that we can create. The other thing is the types of problems that BIT students tend to focus on are, again, they're not always kind of corporate problems, or but they are kind of helping management is the way I would say it. Whether you're talking about you know helping management of a corporation or helping government agencies do their jobs better, things like that, right? So there's kind of this aspect of what types of problems do you work on? Well, it's different if you're in BIT or industrial engineering, right? So the focus, as you might imagine, being in a business school, it's more on business problems. Okay, but I don't want to say that we limit ourselves to business problems because, like I said, we do place students in government agencies, and there's a lot of focus on that as well. Does that help in terms of what the difference between these two are? There is overlap, of course, right? And a lot of our students end up doing kind of minors or double majors in these programs that are, somewhat similar, let's say. What else?
Hi, I'm Karina, and I'm wondering what the male to female ratio is.
Oh, I don't know offhand. I can kind of tell you anecdotally from my classes. It is, let me think. It strikes me as pretty even. That's not, again, I realize that's not very technical, but so my classes tend to be pretty large. Like the statistics class is often, I'll have 200 up to 300 students. And I don't notice any sort of kind of, weighting, let's say, or bias towards one gender. But I'm sorry, I don't have statistics for you. But like I said, I don't notice that there's a bias. We do have, I guess, something that I wanted to mention, and now you kind of reminded me, so I'll just say it now, even though the question wasn't about this, is we do have a student group, Collegiate Women in Business, which I'd encourage you to look up. It is a Pamplin group, so it's from the business school, but it is run by the BIT department. And so the Collegiate Women in Business group, they do a lot of fantastic activities. They take trips. They'll, get a group of students together and go up to DC or New York, or they'll kind of plan different trips to see different institutions, possibly to talk to alum at different companies, things like this. So that's one thing that I wanted to mention, and you just kind of jogged my memory. But what else? Are there any? Oh, how about that? Are there any clubs at Virginia Tech that have to do with business? Yes, there are. So as I said, the Collegiate Women in Business, we have in the BIT department, we have kind of I'm part of a group of faculty that's starting a student ambassador group. So this is kind of students that will help out with different types of like event planning kind of within our department, different types of recruiting efforts, different types of kind of outreach efforts in the community, the university community, the broader community, things like that. So yes, there definitely are. There's tons of clubs, even just kind of within the business school. I don't know a lot of the other business. So within the business school, we have, BIT is one department, but we also have the accounting department, we have the finance department, I think there are 7 different departments in the business school. I don't know what types of clubs they have, but there are many. Let's see, do you have to be, not, oh, thanks, you guys keep reminding me of good things that I need to tell you about. Some of them, yes. So there's a question. I'm sorry. I'm responding to a question in the group chat. Do you have to be in the business school to participate in the club? So for instance, in the student ambassador club for the BIT department, yes, you do need to be a BIT student, not just business school, but BIT student in order to be part of that. So yes, in some groups, you do need to be part of that. In other groups, so for instance, the 3 that I wanted to mention, let's see, one is called Basis. This is, so what do we have? Basis, Coins, and, I can't remember. Basis is the big one, though. Basis is a student-run group from the business school that invests, I think, $5 million of the university's endowment in fixed income securities, debt securities, bonds, things like that. So that's where the name basis comes from. And I don't have any information. I don't have the information like on the website for you, but if you just did a Google search basis Virginia Tech, you would find a lot of information. But again, it's a group of students. It's run through the business school. But you don't need to be a business school student in order to be part of BASIS. You can be from any, as long as you're a VT student. But there is, I'll just say, there is a very competitive application process to be part of this group, as you might imagine, because they're investing $5 million of the university's money, and they want to be careful and they want to make sure. There's a lot of people who are interested in it as well. So. So that's one. We have a couple of student investing groups. I know BASIS is the one in the business school. There's one called COINS, and I think the acronym stands for something like commodity investing by students. So that might be run out of the agricultural economics department. So they're investing, they're purchasing and selling futures and options and things like this, right? So it's kind of agricultural commodities, you can think. And then we have one more. Oh, I remember, seeds, stocks and equity. So there's also a group. So I mentioned BASIS, they do fixed income and they do bonds and things like this. But then we also have a group that invests in securities, stocks and equities. And that's called seeds. And I don't remember where that's run out of. I'm sorry. I don't know if that's a business school group or not. But these groups are fantastic. Like those three in particular are they're amazing, right? You're actually investing real money in the stock market, in the commodities market, in the bonds market, whatever. And as you would expect, students that participate in that do really, really well in terms of job market stuff, right? It really helps when you go to a job interview for, if you want to work at a trading firm or at an investment firm or anything like this, if you can say, yeah, not only do I know about this and I've taken finance courses or whatever, but actually I've done the investing myself, right? So and that's what it is. These groups they're student run. I think they have a nominal faculty advisor who just kind of sits back and I think is generally amazed at how well the students do. And the students are in charge of everything about the group, right? What's the organization? How do we figure out what types of investments, the research that's done, whether these investments are good or not. And yeah, so anyways, I'll let you look into these more. I encourage you, if you end up at Virginia Tech, which would be great, look into it because they're really great groups. What else? Let's see, what classes do you recommend taking in high school that help with the application? Let me try to think for a minute before I start answering. I'll try to answer it in a few different ways. One is, well, you said help with the application, and that's tough. I'm sorry, I haven't been on the admissions side. Okay, so in terms of kind of what helps to make you look good to the admissions committee, other than kind of the obvious stuff, I don't know if I have any suggestions there. So, I think taking whatever classes you're taking and doing well in them is, of course, the first step, right? Taking advanced classes, especially if you're interested in a field like BIT, something that's more technical, any types of classes you can take that are kind of more technical classes, mathematics, statistics, programming, right? Any sort of classes like this kind of, I think, help and look good. I should also say, of course, AP classes are always kind of a nice thing, especially doing well on the AP exams. Like I said, I haven't been on the admission side, so I can't really tell you here's what they're looking for or kind of here are the bars that they have. But if you can you can look up VT admissions or even Pamplin admissions if you're interested in the business school admissions, and there will be more information on their website. And I'll give you guys my email, and if I can put you in touch with somebody over there if you want kind of better information about what the admissions is looking for.
I guess what I meant is by which major, I guess depending on what major you pick in BIT, what classes would help you with that major or reaching that, being able to graduate. And I'm just wondering what classes you should take or what you should do to help prepare for that major.
Sure. So I can speak a little bit more about kind of what would be helpful once you're in BIT, as opposed to, I just don't know so much about the getting in, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I guess there's a few things I can say is, One, any sort of kind of programming, any sort of, if you're learning R, if you're learning Java, any sort of these things are useful, but not at all required. Okay, so you will take all the classes that you need, right? We have all these classes for you here. So it's not like you need to come in knowing Java or knowing R or anything like that. If you do take them, that's helpful. Okay, it's good, but it's not at all required. Then so it sort of depends on what you're interested in, I guess. If you're more interested in doing the decision support services, which is, like I said, it's kind of the more technical, more programming intensive track, then having languages like Java are, that's going to be really helpful there, right? You kind of need more of that. You take classes, we have classes that teach you Visual Basic, so kind of programming in Excel and things like that. But again, the more of that you can do, the more comfortable you are with that, I think it helps, right? You'll get that experience in the classes, but it helps if you know more about it. So, but if you're more interested in the operations and the OSM, right, operations and supply chain management track, then there it's kind of much more about linear programming, different types of mathematical techniques, different types of optimizations and things like that. So there, if that's kind of more the angle that you're interested in, I would say more statistics and more math. Especially in terms of getting in, like if you have any sort of AP credit in math or things like that, that's very helpful. Again, not at all required, right? Everybody has access to and is required to take kind of these introductory classes in statistics and math, so everybody gets onto the same page, but it never hurts to have more experience and more practice. Does that help? Is that sort of what you're...
Yeah, that helps. Thank you.
Sure. I do think, I just want to reiterate this issue that none of it's required coming in. Okay, so you can, if this is just something that you're interested in and you haven't done any programming, that you'll learn it. We'll teach it to you. So we'll teach you everything that you need. It's not like you'll be required to go get it somewhere else, but it's just, I'm assuming you've had different types of classes where sometimes your background really helps you in those classes where you've already seen something or, you've learned about a topic before. It just makes kind of, it makes that class easier. It makes it kind of, you're able to comprehend the more sophisticated, complex parts, right? The more interesting stuff is usually the more complex and sophisticated. And so it's good to have practice, I think. Does that make sense? Is that okay?
That makes sense.
Okay. There's a question that says, if you start as a computer science or engineering major, how difficult is it to switch to BIT, and how early should you make the switch? A lot of our classes, a lot of the requirements are kind of, I don't want to say that they're, I want to be a little bit careful. There are classes in the computer science or engineering college that satisfy requirements in BIT. Okay, so if you were to start out in some of these other areas, those classes would transfer in terms of the credits that you get. I can't say for all of them, right, but there's a lot of overlap. Okay, I don't know about going the other way. I'm not on the engineering side, so I don't know if they count, the BIT 2406 as that satisfies some prerequisite. I don't know. But there is a lot of overlap there. So it's definitely possible, right? There's kind of, it's not like you lose a year or 2 years or anything like that, but I don't know all the specifics. So we have a group in Pamplin, Academic Advising, who is really, I think, who you'd want to talk to about this type of issue. Like if you were to start over in engineering and switch over to BIT, they're the ones who will know, these 6 classes that you take will count for BIT credit, things like that. So that's Pamplin Academic Advising. You can, if you do a Google search, you'll find them. Every student is assigned a academic advisor when they come to Pamplin. So I think they will definitely know all these questions, the answers to these questions. But what I should say is that it is not, I know that it's not difficult for students to get kind of either add a minor or add a second major, right? So there's a lot of overlap in our classes between like some of the computer science stuff and BIT. So it kind of, we have a lot of students who do double majors and do minors in different areas. So I'm sorry, I can't be more specific exactly about what it entails, but I think since it's not at all uncommon, I think that it's, you know, relatively, it's doable, let's say. In terms of how early should you make the switch, like I said, we like to have people in BIT knowing which track they're going to be taking kind of by their junior year. Okay, so first 2 years are generally, you know, there's a lot of general education stuff, especially in your first year. Second year is kind of a lot of prerequisites, and kind of you take a lot of courses that are, give you kind of, this is where you learn what track is it that you actually want to be in BIT, right? So you take a lot of kind of general, both business and kind of, let's say, tech classes, right? So this is where you learn about different types of programming techniques. It's where you learn about different types of business problems and problem solving. And then at that point, you're in a position to decide, you know, which aspects of this am I really interested in? Am I more interested in the programming aspects, more interested in the logistics and operations angle, or am I really into cybersecurity? And then that's kind of when you get to make this decision. Does that help? What other questions do you have about that or anything new? What else? What else have you guys seen as part of the CTech program? I'm curious. Have you talked with other departments on campus? Computer science or
Yeah.
industrial engineering?
So
Go ahead.
every day we have like the certain like lunch and learn. So like people can choose like different majors that they want to go learn more about. So there's been like aerospace, mechanical engineering, chemical engineering. So they're
Yeah.
mainly in like the engineering school, but this was like the only one that was not.
Outside of, yeah. Yeah, so I do think, you know, I think there's a lot of overlap, I would say, between kind of what BIT does and what engineering, you know, different disciplines in engineering do. And for what it's worth, we also have a bunch of faculty who we recently poached from the engineering school, which is nice. So fantastic faculty, a lot of my colleagues. But like I said, I think kind of a big difference is that a lot of what we do is really focused on decision making. Okay, so I don't get the sense exactly that that's what the engineering discipline is kind of all about. It's I do different types of modeling and kind of understanding systems and things like that. But BIT, a lot of what we do is really focused on decision making, right? So at the end of the day, it comes down to, many times it comes down to, should we implement this project or not, right? It's kind of a go or no go decision, right? And of course, behind that is might be a very complex, or hopefully not too complex, but some sort of kind of large system model, whatever the case may be. But it really comes down to, do we do it or not? And if we do it, how much do we do it? Right. So there's kind of, this is a big issue in terms of in BIT. And my understanding is that's a bit of a distinction from the engineering discipline. The other thing is, like I said, just sort of what types of problems, where do you want to work? What types of problems, things like that. What types of problems do you want to study and solve? If they're more business oriented, then obviously the BIT is that's I don't want to say it's the right place to be, but it seems more appropriate place to be, let's say. But the other thing is, it's not just about business, right? It's really about helping management, and that management could be business management, it could be regulatory managers. There's a lot of different areas. So I just want to say, it's not all just about business. So what else? What other questions do you have? Trying to think if there was anything else that I really wanted to let you know about. If you look, so the website has a lot of information on it. I know it's really a lot, but let's see, this academics page. I'm sorry, I know I'm not sharing it with you right now, but let me just go back to this real quick. Sorry, let me share the screen. Okay, so you should be looking at the web page now. This bit.vt.edu academics.html, So there's a lot here. The current and prospective students, I think if you click on that, we looked at this before, right? But this, so if you're interested in sort of kind of what types of classes will I be taking, or the three different tracks that I mentioned, right? So there's, here we have these three different tracks, right? So if you wanted to click the kind of OSM, the operations and supply chain management courses, you get this nice web page that has all the courses that you need to take, and you can go ahead and you can click on them, and it gives you a lot more description of kind of what types of stuff you'll be doing. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful. We have it, like I said, for each of the three tracks. So if you wanted to see more about cybersecurity, there's a little bit here. Actually, cybersecurity is so new, we don't have a great page for that, sorry. But we do for the other two, right? DSOs. So here you go. I think that this sort of the kind of careers page, which I already showed you, I think that's just super helpful. Again, kind of, I think that partly, you know, if you do decide to go to a business school to do a degree in either business, BIT, finance, whatever the case may be, it's sort of what you're choosing is something that's a very applied, very practical degree. And so in some sense, if that's what you're interested in, if that's kind of the way you lean, then I sort of think that what are you going to do afterwards is just sort of the natural next question, right? What do I do with it? Where do I end up? So I think this page is really helpful for that. Okay. We went over that a little bit, but I just wanted to mention it. I guess there's two other things down here which I haven't talked about. Well, one is we had this question about organizations. Let's see, so the BIT club, I mentioned that, Collegiate Women in Business. What's ASCM? I forget. Association for, right. My colleague Barb runs that. So they have events as well. But the other, study abroad, which right now it's kind of hard to say what's going to be happening here, but we do have in the business school a lot of great study abroad programs. So there's programs all throughout the year. You know, you can spend a semester, you can do a couple weeks, but there's really just kind of a lot of different opportunities for you in terms of study abroad. Some of them are kind of more BIT focused. Others are more kind of general business focused. So there's an office in Pamplin, the business school, that deals with study abroad. And that's, if you just did a Pamplin study abroad, I'm sure that Google would help you find it. But we have a lot that are also kind of run within BIT. So if that's something that you're interested in, and hopefully this global pandemic ends soon, then that might be something to think about and to research a little bit more, because there's really a lot there. Really cool trips. We had somebody who was going to South Africa this year. There's people that go to Europe, Asia. There's really just a lot of opportunity there. Okay, let's see. What else? Let's see, I just had a question in the chat. Do you think that getting a minor or concentration in business? So the question is about minor or concentration in business is necessary in order to get promoted. So my experience is that kind of once you have your foot in the door in the business, performance is what gets you promoted. Qualifications at that stage matter much less. Qualifications do help in terms of kind of being able to start a conversation with someone, right? Or getting an interview or something like this. So in terms of getting promoted, I really think what matters is what you do, right? Once you're in a place, they can observe your performance, they can observe what you get done. That's easy once they can see that. What's hard is when they don't really know you, right? And so that's where qualifications and certifications come into play. And yeah, I think having kind of a background in business helps, right? It's easy to convince somebody that you're going to kind of be able to help their business succeed. Or let me say it's easier to convince them of that if you've got some experience, if you understand what it is that business, what makes businesses tick, what makes them efficient, what types of considerations do you need? And then also just you kind of have experience thinking about these types of problems and how to solve them. Right, so yeah, I do think that it helps. Certainly, it's not necessary. There are plenty of folks who do very well in business who are not trained as such, right? But it helps. I think it really helps with options. And so that's something that kind of goes back to the placement Where do BIT graduates end up working? Again, I think that that's one of the great things about the department is that the placement, the rate, and the types of positions, the types of jobs that our students get is just, it's hard to argue with that. I mean, it's a good starting place, right? It's not like there's no guarantee that nobody's, pulling any strings and getting you jobs or anything like that, but it just gives you opportunities, right? It puts you in touch with people from big companies, small companies, government organizations, nonprofits, all these different areas. It allows you to kind of start these conversations with them. What else? So I understand this event is usually done in person, but I guess this year we have to do it. That's unfortunate. Is it, I don't know if I can ask you how it's going, or is it difficult that it's all remote, but I'm sure it is. I guess it's unfortunate, of course. What else? What other questions do you have? I have to think that if it was in person, they probably would have served lunch as well, no? Anything else? Anything about BIT or business school, or I guess I'm curious kind of what other areas are you folks considering? Are you thinking about industrial engineering or computer science, or? What sounds fun?
I'm more interested in like aerospace or ocean engineering, but I really like business. I'm involved in like a competitive business club called DECA at my high school.
Okay.
So I really like doing the business side of things also. So I would like to minor in business.
Okay. What is DECA?
So it's like Future Business Leaders of America, if you know what that is. It's like a competitive club. So we do like these role plays and we get judged on our performance. So it's like a mock interview. And
Sure.
we go to like competitions. There's like a regional competition, a state competition, and there's like internationals also.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds cool. I've heard a little bit about that. I have friends who are their kids are in it. Um, yeah. So of course, you should definitely major in BIT, but if you decide not to, which I could understand as well, there are, like I said, a lot of opportunities, I think, in terms of kind of clubs, and especially it sounds like this kind of like basis or seeds or coins might be of interest to you, these student investing clubs. And I don't know offhand if there are clubs that are kind of more, like you said, Future Business Leaders of America, like that. I'm not entirely sure, but um, if investment is at all an interest, these student-run investment clubs are really cool, because it's not just about making investments; it's also management of the group, right? There's a lot of kind of research that's done, presentations that are made, things like this. So, and as I said, even if you decide not to be part of BIT in terms of your major, you can participate in these groups. You don't have to be a BIT student or business school student for that matter. What else? What are the other folks? What are you interested in, or what are you thinking about, or?
I honestly didn't know about much about like the business like the technology side. So this was very helpful for me.
Great.
I'm not quite sure what I want to major in, but I'm interested in civil engineering as well as architecture. I kind of like design in general. So yeah, I also do like business, and I took a class in my high school called International Development, which kind of focused on like international business, and like part of the class was helping develop a social enterprise in a developing country. So I did that, and it was really interesting for me. So I really wanted to learn more about business,
Yeah.
and yeah.
No, I think that's great. I mean, I like I said, I think a lot of what we do kind of, it's very practical stuff. It's applied. And it's sort of, like I said, it's sort of what types of issues do you want to be working with, right? And if, I think you can take a lot of business classes, though I don't know exactly if they count for credits in College of Engineering or anything like this, but, there is a lot of overlap. So um, I, I'd encourage, I don't know kind of exactly how you would work the double major, say, or a minor or something like that, but you would definitely want to get in touch with academic advising at Pamplin, and they would be able to tell you. I know it's very common, right? So if that's something that you're interested in, is kind of combining the two of these areas, it's something that people do, definitely. I'm sorry I don't have more details about how it's done, though. What else?
So for me, I was probably like, I listened to one of the lunch and learns about like industrial, so I was interested in that, but then also maybe like chemical engineering.
Okay.
But then last week we had like a session where they were talking about Pamplin and stuff, so I thought that was interesting as well. So I'm just kind of like trying to decide what I actually want to like go into.
I think it's really good to be interested in a lot of stuff. That's good. I think that's a really good quality. And I think the good news is I wouldn't encourage you. You don't have to decide. You don't have to know now. You don't have to know in your first year or two of college either. You can, you can kind of play it by ear. You can follow what you're interested in. And I think that's good. I mean, I think that's a nice thing about the BIT degree as well, is that it's not something that you have to start sophomore year. Right? You can do it, you have to have a lot of these classes, kind of the math courses, the statistics, but it sounds like if you're interested in a lot of these kind of engineering fields and things like that, you're going to be taking those classes. So it's not, you don't have to know exactly what you want to end up doing. You just kind of pursue what you're interested in, and then hopefully after a year, 2 years, something like that, you have more of a sense, and at that point then you have to decide, of course. But the good news is you don't have to know right away, which I think is really nice. I guess I would encourage you also kind of, as you're taking these classes, your kind of first and second year courses, it really helps. My experience has been that it really helps to try to get to know the faculty teaching, right? That, I think that makes a big difference. So, go to office hours, talk to people, ask questions, ask what they're interested in, ask what they do, things like that. Just because these are the folks who are, especially when you get into upper level classes, 3,000 level, 4,000 level, it really helps, I think, to have kind of a connection with the faculty, to be able to talk to them about what it is that you're interested in, get their experience, and kind of, you learn a lot that way. So I think that should be, I would encourage you to kind of keep that as part of your decision making, right? Who's going to be guiding you, who's going to be advising, things like this, I think are really important. So I'd encourage you to at least keep that in mind as you move forwards. What else?
Yeah, so for me, I'm actually interested in like computer science and like data mining and the cybersecurity side of that. But I'm also, yeah, but I'm also like interested in like the industrial engineering and like being cost effective in designs. So that's why I thought like BIT would be a good fit for me, like
Yeah.
this track, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And, like I said, I don't think you need to pick one or the other. I think you can kind of, you should start out by kind of taking classes that you're interested in and pursuing that. And then, at some point, either you have to decide what's my major, right? Or you can do double major, or major and a minor or something like that. I mean, like I said, there's just a lot of overlap, and a lot of the techniques are very similar, right? So it's kind of more, what types of questions are you interested in? What types of problems do you want to solve? And I think that ends up being kind of, how do you make the final choice of which degree? Or some people can't decide and they just do both, which is fine too. But yeah, I mean, I think BIT is, like I said, it's very practical. We focus on solving problems. We do that with technology, right? We use, sometimes it's computer systems, sometimes it's cybersecurity systems, other times it's kind of these, logistical or analytical methods, however you want to call it. But yeah, the focus is on solving business problems. What else? Our time's running low. Do you have any more questions? I've really enjoyed chatting with you. So I should give you, I mentioned, can you guys see what's in the chat? Okay, good. So here's my email. It doesn't, you don't have to capitalize the S. That's me. Please feel free to email me if you have any further questions. If I mentioned a few things here where I said I don't know the answer to that, I don't, you know, if you want it, if you want to know the answer to it, let me know. Send me a message. I'll find out for you, or I'll put you in touch with whoever does know. Sorry, I'm in a we're on vacation here, so I'm in a distracting blue room. What else? Any other questions? Okay, it was really great to meet you and chat with you. I wish you guys luck. Are you all going to be seniors in high school? Is that anyone a junior, rising junior? Yeah. Okay, a couple. Yeah. Okay, good. Start early. Are you in the Virginia area? Are you all in Virginia? Are you?
I live in North Carolina.
Oh, okay, cool.
I live in Maryland.
Maryland.
I live in Virginia.
Okay. It's good to have people from all over. I'm now in Michigan. Anyone in Michigan? No? Okay. All right. It was great to meet you. We'll end here. I hope that you enjoyed lunch. Like I said, send me a message if I can help in any way. Okay, I'll put you in touch with whoever. If I can't answer the question, I'll definitely put you in touch with who can. So I wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.